pass it your trouble.
This is Damian Macy, representing the Friends of the Marshall Public Library in our Oral History Project. Today is August the 4th, 2015. I'm visiting with Carolyn Robinson. I think she usually goes by Carolyn Sue.
Well, Carolyn's fine too.
Carolyn Robinson of Marshall. And today we're visiting at the Marshall Public Library. She is a longtime resident of the community, and with that, I'm going to introduce you to Carolyn and let her tell her story.
Well, I was born January 18th, 1941 in Clark County. I was born in my grandparents' house on Route 1, and that's where my grandparents lived for a long time. And my mother and father was Mary Louise McConkey, Mary Louise Pine McConkey, and Huger McConkey. And we started out when I was young. I remember Clark Center was where the first house I remember. And I went to school at Jeff Davis School only because Zola Wolf was the teacher. She's from Martinsville, and she was a good friend. She was a sweetheart of a lady. And my mom, I always tell my mom she couldn't wait to get rid of me because I was only 5. But it was just because there was no place to leave kids, then and whatever. So anyway, we stayed there for a couple of years, and then we moved over. Well, it was called the Bird Pine House. It's over in Wabash Township. And I went to Bag School then. And Myrtie Melton, she was a minister, but she was also my teacher. And we lived there. Well, I can't tell you how long. Then my folks bought the place out on Fox Road, and that's where they lived. And then I had to change schools. I had to go from the country school. I liked that country because I wasn't used to it. I went to the South School. I think I was in 3rd grade then. I think I was.
That was the South School here in town?
Yeah, and it was the old one that was, the tall one. And Mildred Bush was one of my teachers, okay. And Ann Kyle was the other one. And and then when my folks moved from over there over to the Fox Road there, Mr. Hadley was the superintendent, and if you lived a certain place in the county, you had to go one school or the other. Well, he said I had to go North, and I wasn't too happy because I liked South School, but I went to North School and I made my best friends there. That I still got friends from there. And when I was in Mary Alice Irwin was my fifth and 6th grade teacher. She moved when most of us moved, and I got along fine with her. She was very strict, but she was a good teacher.
Were the school buses in operation at that time?
No.
You had to walk, or did someone bring you to school?
My father. One time it snowed, and I don't know what. Maybe that was when they had buses, and I don't know. But anyway, they couldn't get around. He took me to school on the tractor. I was so embarrassed, but the kids thought that was great, but I didn't think it was too much of it. But my dad was always great for doing something like that. He thinks it would embarrass you a little bit. So, but anyway, but my dad farmed. All my family's always has farmed. My father-in-law and my grandfather, both of my grandfathers farmed. The whole family farmed, and so of course that's what Gerald and I did too. And my boys still are doing that too. I had one boy that said he was never going to farm, never going to raise hogs, and he's doing both now. So I won't mention any names, but I will. But they helped on the farm from the time they were big enough to do anything and things. And
Carolyn, you mentioned your grandparents. And what was their name? You didn't mention them.
I didn't mention names, did I? Okay. Harold and Maud Pine was my mother's parents, and Foster and Dulcie McConkey was my dad's mom and dad.
Foster and what?
Dulcie, D-U-L-C-I-E.
Okay.
And my dad had, well, I guess he had 4 brothers and a sister, but one of the brothers had died in infancy. And we got together at my grandpa McConkey's every other Sunday, and and we had the best time doing nothing, you know. But we did have a good time, and I always wish that could happen now, because you can't take that away from you.
People don't seem to socialize anymore, and everyone has a cell phone or something they're texting on.
But it was just fun. My cousins and I, we're still close and things, and I think it's all because of that and things. But where else?
Did you have some chores at home when you were a youngster? I'll bet you did.
Oh yes. One thing I can remember when I was in the 8th grade, my dad had rheumatic fever. So that meant that I had to take, because I was older than my brother. Well, I forgot to tell you, I still have a brother, and he was 3.5 years younger than what I was. But he lives in Florida right now, where all the flooding's at. But he's married and got 2 boys and a girl, and well, I forgot that I told you about. I had 4 boys. The oldest one was born in 60. Oh gosh, 64, I think. But I lost 2 of my boys with accidents, and then my husband died in August of 2000. So I try not to feel sorry for myself, which I don't. But I had 6, and all of a sudden I had 3, and that's it.
And your husband's name was?
Gerald. Oh yeah, well, I guess he did have a name. And we raised hogs and cattle and chickens and corn and beans and wheat. So it was a family thing. So everybody got to do their own whatevers. But when I was younger, I got to feed the chickens, milk the cows, and just you name it, whatever was needed to be done. And I was in 4-H. Well, my kids had been in 4-H, and the whole family was. But I got this. I probably told people this story before, but I had chickens. And they always wanted them nice and clean and things, so I washed them. And they said to put blueing in the water, and that would make them. Well, I did, but I had one of the bluest chickens you ever seen, so I had to go back out and do it again. But it didn't kill me.
They didn't have a special category for blue chickens.
No, blue chickens. They didn't. They didn't do that. But anyway, 4-H was a big part of our life, and my kids were in 4-H, and my grandkids, and Randy just started. He's Greg and Amy have Randy. Greg is my baby, the youngest one, and Randy he's 10 years old. This is his 2nd year, I think, of showing in 4-H. And they got married in, oh gosh, I don't know, if it was 90, I think 91. I think it was 91. And Steve and Leslie got married. Well, I don't know how long. Steve and Leslie have been married almost 25 years now. And they had 2 boys, Jacob, which is 23 now. And he just graduated with criminology from SIU at Edwardsville. And then Jeffrey is 20, and he just went to Lakeland for 2 years. Now he's going to go to SIU at Edwardsville, because in order to get a bachelor's degree.
Super.
And Jake is trying to find a job, so if you know of anybody that wants someone to hire somebody, it's just it's just hard, you know, to get. I said, don't give up. You know, you're gonna, you know,
Keep right at it.
just keep at it. And he's filled out all kind of applications, which that's what you got to do, things. But he's been helping me since I'm not as good as I used to be. He's mowing yard and things now for, you know, whatever. And,
Well, that's a big help.
oh, big help.
Carolyn, when you were a youngster, you mentioned 4-H, but did you have some hobbies or pastimes that really took a keen interest in? And
Well, I did all the gardening and the yard mowing at my so I really like to ride. I think probably my bicycle riding was my funnest thing, one of the best things I had to do, things. But no, because my mom worked at TRW for 25 years when I was growing up, so I got to learn how to cook for hard men when I was like 10 and 12 years old, and which it didn't hurt me. But then I was a housekeeper. So anyway, but it was you know, it was fine. And
did you have some good recipes that you kept from then or that time?
oh, I probably do. I've got recipe books at the wazoo. I mean, I've got gobs of them, but I can sit down and read a book. I mean, a recipe book. And I know that sounds silly, but I can, you know. So, and okay, I went to, well, we went when we lived out at Clark Center. We went to the Five Points Church, and I remember Beverly Hendricks. Beverly Hickenbottom is now, and I remember sitting by her church. Lila Jean Morgan, that's the two I remember from out there. And then when we moved over by the Bag School, we went to they call it Grand Turk, and that's where we've been. That's where I've been still going. We've been there for a long time, but that's like going home, I guess. You know, it's just people of the church are like your family. I mean, like your, you know.
From that cooking and the animals and 4-H and all, were there some particular hobbies that you developed that you may even keep up today?
Well, cooking would be probably. It's a good thing I did because I had boys that like to eat, and grandkids that still like, you know. But no, I enjoy cooking, baking and things. I never did dislike that, but I like to do that.
Is there a favorite part of cooking that you like baking?
Baking's probably the better. Yeah.
Some good pies and cakes, I'll bet, came out of your oven.
Well, I try. How's that? Sometimes better than others. But
did you have a pet when you were a youngster?
Mm-hmm. A dog named Pal.
Pal.
And it was the name of it was Chow dog.
Oh yes.
And one time I come home from school and she was gone, and she got in my dad's sheep, and so I never did know for sure what happened to her, but you can't keep them around when they get into that. So anyway, I think my dad took care of her. Yeah, I wasn't too happy, but that's what you have to, you know.
Did you get a replacement pet?
Yeah, I had a little beagle.
Oh, they're cute.
Yeah.
They're cute.
But you know, I don't remember what. I know when I got married, when I was 19, I had a German Shepherd, and that one and so I took her with me. I mean, she was my kid for several years, and things. But then she got cancer, and
Gosh.
and this is when, well, I guess it was Vic, though. He put her to sleep, things. But and then the other pet I had was oh gosh, it was a tri-collie, black and white one, and poor thing, we called her Skunky, because she looked like she was black and white like a skunk. But somebody dumped her off to us, and she'd been abused and things. We had to do a lot of TLC, but she was we had her for 10 years. And the year that Gerald passed away, Bev Pierce took me to Nashville, Tennessee, just to get me away for overnight or one weekend. And when we come home, she wasn't where she always was, and so she was really kind of like Greg's dog. That's my youngest, and so we took her up to the vets, and he looked at her. And she had cancer, and so she was gone in a couple of days. So I said, I don't have no more. I get too attached to him, and well, one time, Greg, that was my youngest son, and Neil Lindley came home. They found me a dog along the road. They brought him, and I said, boys, take the dog and take her somewhere that they will take care of, because I don't want another dog. So I don't know what they done with it for sure, but anyway. But when you do anything and go anywhere, you always gotta. And my two cats, they don't care if I'm gone or I'm there, as long as they got some food out for them.
Well, as we were talking briefly before you started with your interview here, you are an animal lover, obviously, from what you had said earlier.
Yeah, I do. I like them. I always like dogs better than cats, but since I have cats, they're no trouble at all, things. But I had what they call an egg route, or what I do in Terre Haute. And that was an experience. Yeah. Well, just you have all kinds of people and things, but it was fruitful for a while, but then it got so that it wasn't very fruitful. It was just too much work for nothing. How
did you develop your customers in the route?
Well, one guy, I can't think what his name was, and it was in Marshall here. He had a route, so he sold me that route, which I don't know, but it wasn't very big. But we word of mouth is what when you do it. It was mostly in North Terre Haute where it was at, and things, and just word of mouth, and made a lot of friends, people you'd never see before, would never see, but they were nice, all good people. But
with something like that, I'm sure you ran into some frustrations, also, didn't you?
Oh, yes. Complaints?
It's really not.
Oh, yes. And, but I kind of just learned to smile and go on. Yeah. But over here, that's exactly what I did. But
did you raise the eggs and all on your own farm then, I guess?
Yeah, we sometimes, one time that we would buy 5,000 young babies, and then we would sell what we call starter ones that other people that wanted, and that was all right too, but it got to be where people didn't want to pay you, they wanted to be on whatever, and but it was quite an experience. And once they got the place where we were changing dollars, and it wasn't it just wasn't worth it.
You mentioned buying a large number of chicks there. Mm-hmm. Where did you get those from? I remember there were a couple of what we call, I guess, poultry places here in Marshall when I was a youngster.
Yeah. Well, I think these would come from around Newton's where we got them. Okay. But remember, Anderson's. And sometimes before we ever had the egg route, we'd sell eggs to him,
Mm-hmm.
And on Saturday morning we would do that.
And there was another one, I think, was it Harvey Hurst? Did he have
I think so.
Did he have a poultry business?
Did.
I was thinking there were two, maybe even three when I was a youngster.
Yeah. And I remember going to Selma, George, and the grocery store and things, and they were good people.
Something I think has changed so much too, and I remember as a youngster, you mentioned Selma, George, there were a number of small local grocery stores all throughout Marshall, all up and down Archer Avenue. There were some on Route 1, Route over here on 2nd Street. There were just grocery stores everywhere.
Well, Marshall's grocery was on 2nd Street, and then that Worshiping boy had it.
Right.
And that was, you know, and
Poorman's had a place
had
up.
one out, yeah. No.
And then Van Arsdale's had one up on North.
Well, Bill Pierce.
Bill Pierce.
Yeah. So, you know, and they all seem to make a living, you know. So, and I'm sure that, you know, but.
Were there so many because people did not have cars and they were usually within walking distance of being able to get their groceries? Or
and
what?
then was there, what kind of a store was there downtown? It was like, was it Kroger's?
There was a Kroger.
Was Kroger's, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of remember that, but not much.
Where the library is now.
Oh, well, yeah, okay.
I remember that.
Well, I knew it was downtown and things, but yeah.
And then at one time on the corner down here, there was a store called Oakley's, which was a grocery store also. That's where Marshall Mutual Building is now.
Yeah, well, I remember Grabenheimer's, you know, Grabenheimer's, and that was our Macy's or our mall, I guess, or whatever you call it now. But
Your department store.
so that was it. And Western Auto. Let's see, who else was it? Oh, that's.
Do you remember some of these other buildings and businesses around town, Carolyn?
Well, I remember the feed store. What was because my dad worked there.
Newberry's?
Newberry's.
My dad worked for there too.
Did he? And yeah, because I had things at school. I would walk from school down there, and then he'd take me home. But well, of course, Tom's. That was kind of the place.
Oh my, yes.
Pretty. Still, you think of that. You think about Tom's. It's pretty hard to beat.
What was surprising too, though, we had I think 4 or maybe 5 auto dealerships.
Yes.
Early in my memory too.
One of them was Flores's.
We had Ford, had Chevrolet and Buick,
Stanfield's,
Studebaker, and then there was a Hudson dealership over here on the west side, Clotfeller.
Clotfeller's, yes. Yeah.
So you could buy a lot of different things right here in Marshall that you can't find today.
No, you can't now at all, huh? But that was just the way it was.
I guess that's part of progress.
Well, that's exactly right, probably. No, that's exactly right.
Carolyn, was there a particular event or maybe a person in your life that has maybe just changed your way of thinking and was very, very important to your lifetime and your memories?
Oh, I had a lot of good teachers. Well, of course, I always go back to Zola Wolf. She was if you didn't know Zola, she was a dandy lady.
Oh, I did know her quite well.
Did you? Okay.
Oh, yes.
And
her son was just a year older than I am.
Oh, well, Larry, yeah. Well, see, Carolyn is my age, her daughter. That was why I went to school, because she had no place to leave her. Oh, but I had lots of good teachers. I remember Mrs. Heaton was my 8th grade math. Math wasn't my expertise, you know, but she was a very good lady.
Was her husband a coach?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. In football. And there were just a lot of teachers though that was good, but that's the ones that always kind of stands out.
Did you have a favorite subject in school?
Well, I guess probably anything like home economics. That was kind of my, and that there wasn't the.
That got your attention.
Well, yeah, I did, and I done better in math than I did some of the other ones. You know, I wasn't very good, like I say, with math, but and history was okay, but nothing tripped my trigger as good as the cooking and things, and I wasn't a seamstress. Because that wasn't my thing at all. But I could cook, and that's the thing I still don't sew. But
who was I guess they used the term home ec at that time. Who was the home ec teacher?
Mrs. Shafter and Mrs. Ralston.
Okay.
Let's see.
We've gone through a lot of different things, I guess, in our lifetime, and some things really stand out. Was there a world event or something that really you just found shaking and maybe?
Well, it was when JFK was killed. I can remember that. It wasn't when I was young either, but I can remember what I was doing when President Kennedy was assassinated. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what, I mean, that just hit me.
It seemed like that's one thing in an event that just about everyone remembers, and they also remember where they were when they learned about it.
I can tell you what I was doing, everything. So I was ironing, and that's stupid. I mean, why do you remember things like that? But that's what I was doing.
Mm-hmm. That seems like just about everyone does have that memory.
Yeah.
We all have so many wonderful things around our house and buildings and all that we can use. Is there a modern invention or convenience that you say, I just could not live without that?
Well, right now my washing machine is broke, so no. But it's gonna be a new one coming because once they get a certain age, they don't last very long. But anyway, I can't do without that. Right? I don't want to have to drag stuff, and we got places we can wash in town, but I don't want to wash. I don't want to take that stuff to town.
You don't want to go back to the washboard or beating them on a rock in the creek?
No, I don't think I ever done that, but I don't want to start. I don't want to start.
Is there someone in town, perhaps? Now, you mentioned some teachers, and I think I know just about all of them. Mm-hmm. Did they influence your thinking about maybe career of going somewhere to work versus becoming a farmer's wife and staying here in Marshall?
Well, I started out in college, and I was going to be a elementary teacher.
Oh, okay.
And that's one thing, and I didn't finish, and I always had wished I'd just got, but. Gerald, we farmed, and I worked in the field, and just like a boy. But and I didn't mind that at all. And then when kids come along, I still did it. And then when they came home from school, they took over. But I didn't mind it because I'd done that. I worked with my dad more than I did with my mom. I drove a tractor when I was, not very old.
What's your, take on how much farming has changed in the last 25 years?
A lot. And it's the expense. People don't realize the expense that putting out a crop is and things, and it is, but I don't know, it's very expensive, but somehow you gotta watch your pennies and you can make it, that's what, but I'm partial, I know, but I still think farming's a good place to raise your kids and things, and I like it, and I'm still keeping books, just like I did, 50 years ago, because I would have been married, 50 years, but Gerald, passed away before that. He passed away a week before our 40th anniversary.
Oh dear, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but that's, that's just the way it goes,
In what year was that?
2000.
2000. Mm-hmm. With coming back to this thing with farming, the way it's done so much has changed anymore. I remember the small plows, the small planters, the small combine, everything is huge anymore. And this thing with, I don't even understand the use of this GPS.
Oh, well, no, I think that's a waste of money. No, we don't have, but your crops, it don't take long to put out a crop. Right. And things, because you can get it done, so much quicker and things and but, it also costs money to buy the machinery and stuff and things, and last year the corn prices have not been great and things, but you just have to learn to whatever.
There's been an increase so in yield a wee bit too, though.
Well, it was that 1 year, that last year. And we did make several thousand bushel more than what we did before. And right now the crops is looking, you know, mighty good. Yeah, that's what I was going to do, but I don't do. But it's, you know, it's good. But when in 2006 is when my oldest boy got killed in August 19th of 2006, and he was my farmer. I mean, because that was what he did, and then Steve is a civil engineer with the highway department, and Greg is a mechanical engineer with the highway department, and it's so after Mike got killed, we give up a lot of our rig ground because the boys they couldn't do it. I mean, they couldn't handle it with their full-time job and things.
So their full-time work plus farming.
Yeah, and then Greg raises hogs. Yeah, and he does about anything anybody will pay him to do. How's that? But you know, they're both they know how to work.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Going back to this thing with yield, my dad had the grain elevator in Martinsville, and I remember about early 50s anyway, he came home one day at noon, and someone had 100 bushel per acre corn. Yeah. Oh my goodness, that was just totally amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
And well, we'll probably never do much more than that.
Well.
And it just has kept going.
Yeah, it has. It has, but it's, you know, you almost got to keep it going in order to
pay for the equipment.
That's exactly right. And you know, your seed's expensive, your chemicals, and your fertilizer, and you know, they just and if you're not in the business, you don't really realize, you know, what the expense is and things. But
you mentioned keeping the books for the farm and all. Mm-hmm. Do you do that on a computer?
I used to, and then one time it died on me, and that was it. No more. I keep it through this farm management with Jeff Lewis.
Back to pen and paper, huh?
And it's in a book, and that's the same what I've done for forever and ever. But I know right where to go get it if I need something. I know right where it's at, and it's just I wasn't going to do that no more because I had to go redo all that. I said no more of that. I've got a computer, but I use it some. But I used to pay my bills that way too. But then that one time you know, and so I thought, heck with that. I wrote checks forever, so that's what I do. But,
well, you must get even along with the IRS okay then, so.
Well, they haven't got me yet.
Keep the pen and paper going.
That's right.
Well, Carolyn, it's been a delight talking to you. Now, let me just ask, if you were, let's say, on the other side of the water in England or somewhere in Europe, and someone said, Marshall, where is that, or what's that all about? What would you tell them about Marshall, and might be a good place to visit? Well,
they got a lot of good people. Friendly people, and it's not a lot. It's a small town, and I think that's the main thing I like about it. And everybody knows everybody. Most everybody does, and I just think it's just a super nice place to live.
Well, you summed that up very, very well. And again, I thank you for taking your time out to visit with us on the Oral History. It's a delight to have you, and I've enjoyed visiting with you. And this will be available for our future generations to see and read.
All right.
And I'll thank you so much again. Let's see that.